Sumerian text is the oldest known written language. Sumer was the oldest known civilization. They accomplished so many firsts in as far as what we know about human history. We attribute them to having discovered the wheel, written language, mathematics, astronomy, astrology. I mean, we're talking about 6,000 years ago. They had a detailed map of the solar system 6,000 years ago with all of the planets in the proper size and the proper orbit, including Pluto. They knew about Pluto 6,000 fucking years ago. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, there was people that were being put to death thousands of years later because they suggested that the world was round and that the world wasn't, that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe. Thousands of years after the Sumerians, people were put to death for those notions. But the Sumerians knew about it. When they also said that everything they learned from the Anunnaki. And the literal translation of the word Anunnaki is those from heaven to earth came. And it's the Elohim in the Bible. And the idea of the Elohim, like in the Bible, the way Zechariah Sitchin breaks it down, is that it's those who came down, or the gods, or giants. And there's all these different ways of describing or translating what he said. But what he attributes it all to is another planet that it's on an elliptical orbit that comes in between Mars and Jupiter every 3,600 years. And this planet is called Nibiru. And what Zechariah Sitchin says, and this is where it gets really kooky, he says that human beings are the product of accelerated evolution, and that what these Nibiru people, these Anunnaki, have done is fuck with their DNA and create human beings. So they would add, Anunnaki DNA and create us.
Wow.
Who the fuck knows? But it's fun to read. It's all so tortured. I mean, the idea behind it is also, you have to be a biblical scholar to just follow the language, just to follow his connections with all these different words from thousands and thousands of years ago and how they translate to today. And they wrote in cuneiform, which is this really crude form of writing. But the really interesting thing of the photographs of the clay tablets that these people made back then, the inscriptions that show the solar system, the inscriptions that show they had the double helix for DNA, that they already understood that back then, 6,000 years ago. And that was their symbol for medicine, which is still our symbol for pharmacy. In a pharmacy, they have the caduceus. They have the two snakes that wrap around. You know that? When you see that in pharmacy?
It's for all medical. I'm a nurse, and
there you go.
It's for all of the medical profession. We actually have a doctor in our chat, and he's agreeing with a lot of what you're saying too.
Oh, well, that's what he said represented it. He said that represented a double helix of DNA, and that they understood this. There's images back then from 6,000 years ago that Zechariah Sitchin believes is a depiction of genetic evolution, or genetic manipulation. Like the idea being that these people came from another planet and made humans. Who knows? Who knows, I mean, that people will think that's ridiculous, but yet they'll go to church and believe Jesus walked on water and came back from the dead. It's like what people choose to believe is ridiculous and not believe is ridiculous is very fascinating. Human beings are very curious animals.